There we go. That's an option that's apparently still possible. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now he's actually shaking, so he's actually going to hit the lieutenant. Mm-hmm. Yep. Same as always. Oh. Didn't know that I was extremely... I don't know. Couldn't read it in time. Pulled the trigger. Bullet flew out of the barrel and hit Lieutenant Kang in his left arm. I made it. I actually made the shot. However, Choi Yo-han was obviously not satisfied with the result. Kid, are you really such a terrible shot? Or are you just trying to fool me? I guess I'll have to teach you a lesson. He moved his gun away from the officer's temple and pointed it at his back. Bang! A red hole appeared in his stomach. The officer's face turned pale, but he didn't wince even a little, trying not to worry us. What a man he was. Oh well, I'm also a pretty nice guy. How about I give you another chance? This time, aim at the head. See? Right here. He poked his gun at the officer's temple while laughing like a maniac. My anger was boiling inside me. I couldn't listen to any more bullshit coming out from the butterface of that bastard. But what could I do? No matter how fast I could possibly move, I couldn't be faster than a bullet. A shadow leapt past me from behind while I was still trying to think. A splash of blood spilled to the floor inside of my shadow that was cast by the dim lights. A gun was sticking out of Choi Yo-han's mouth. No, it was barely a mouth anymore. Choi's body was falling to the ground at the same speed as my vomit. Lieutenant Kang took the gun out of Choi's hand. There was no warmth in his eyes, and he looked like someone else completely. The will to kill was radiating from him. The will to kill every single living thing in sight, even those that had already been incapacitated. A minute later, those who had passed out in the warehouse would never wake up again. The officer was lying next to Choi Yo-han's body, still bleeding. I couldn't tell if he was still breathing. Lieutenant Kang's eyes then turned to the only remaining person alive in the warehouse. He looked into my eyes. Then he raised his gun. That's an okay, sure. Sometimes I don't understand what the game thinks is a good outcome, but alright. Oh, now I actually get a picture for him. Alright, I got some new... Oops, that's not the right button. Got some new post. 2 more. Spotty. And Chan Yeon-min. Alright. Continue over here. Lee Wen. The simulation exams were right around the corner. Everyone was busy preparing for it today. Mr. Wen hadn't mentioned anything about cancelling the class, however. Besides, I was still his assistant to the art class, so I went along. However, the room was empty. There was no one there, not even Mr. Wen. I felt a little disappointed. Just when I was wondering whether I should go back and study for the exam. Sit down. Time for class. Mr. Wen walked past me, took off his coat and laid it on the back of a chair near me. Why are you the only one here? It's the simulation exams tomorrow. Everyone is freaking out about them. I grabbed the chair and sat down. Mr. Wen seemed a little unhappy. Was he going to cancel the class today? I supposed that I should get ready to go back and study too. What would you like to draw today? Mr. Wen abruptly asked. What I would like to draw? It surprised me that I was hearing this question coming out of his mouth. Something more difficult? I said, hoping that it would make me appear more motivated. Then draw me. But you would have to pose for a long time. That is too much for me to ask. I honestly didn't want to do that. If I messed it up, when I messed it up, he was going to tear me, not the drawing, into pieces. Don't overthink it. Mr. Wen took out his kit, set up the easel and continued. I'll do a sketch too. I'll draw you. After making sure that my eyes weren't lying to me, I sprung up from my chair. Wait! Let me go and change first. I sprinted out of the classroom. I was still sweaty and smelly from playing tennis earlier, and I was wearing a sports jacket that was one size too large because I ordered the wrong one. It would be so embarrassing to be drawn like this. Furthermore, the more I thought about it, the more I felt like this was some sort of a trap. If I drew him badly, no, not if, when. With his temper, he would almost certainly not let me off the hook easily. Well, I felt like I'd turned into a dried fish on a cutting board waiting to be cut up. I opened the locker and picked out the dress that Jing had bought when it was on sale a while ago. She had bought 2 of them and given me one as a present. I'd never tried it on before. My school uniform was still drying off at home after laundry day yesterday, so this would have to do for now. I put the dress on. It fit well size-wise, but maybe because it hadn't been washed, I felt a weird itching once I put it on. Mr. Wen showed no reaction to my new outfit, and so we began our sketching practice. Drawing a portrait was so hard, and my back being itchy kept distracting me. By the time the bell rang, I had barely drawn a rough draft. Mr. Wen put away his sketch, yet he didn't ask to see mine either. He was about to leave the classroom when he stopped at the door. He looked at me and opened his mouth. He looked like he was going to say something, but he didn't. Eventually, he left with a look of disappointment on his face. What the hell was wrong with him? What did I do to him this time? Li Wen. Okay. Compared to some of the other stories here, her life seems pretty reasonable. I brought Yi to the auction house. She was still burning up and barely conscious. I handed her to the boss there, a middle-aged fat man named Lucky Zhao, who had a full mouth of gold teeth. Usually when the gang mentioned taking care of someone without additional instructions, it meant to bring the girls to the auction house. Basically, I was only asked to do the legwork. As for the girls who had been taken care of, they had probably all been sold to people abroad. I'd heard rumors that besides the legitimate auctions, the house conducted illegal ones in secret too. There were many kinds of outlandish merchandise in this building, and that included humans. Just as I was about to leave, I couldn't control my curiosity anymore. I asked the guy at the front desk, "Hey man, where did these pretty girls get sold to?" The guy put down a stainless steel mug in his hand. "The people brought here by the Black Dragon Gang? Well, those girls are usually just sent to Southeast Asia." Southeast Asia? Why then? Are they sent to be housemaids? Are you stupid or something? Housemaids? Your gang always told us that these girls are to be sent to become human sticks. Have you ever seen a freak show? They have no tongues, eyes, arms or legs. They have nothing but their torsos left and they're locked in a cage. What the fuck? An extreme form of torture from ancient China, which was said to be used on concubines by the wife. According to records, after Emperor Gaozu of Han died, his queen ordered his favorite concubine to be turned into a renji, aka a human stick. During the Tang Dynasty, Empress Consort Wu had done the same to a rival concubine before she became the empress. There was a saying at the time, you might be high at the top one day, but you could fall to the bottom as a human stick. In modern society, there are still criminal rings that kidnap women and children, turn them into human sticks and sell them to beggar organizations or freak show circuses. It is extremely barbaric. It sounds extremely barbaric. Jesus Christ. I almost threw up. This was the first time I'd ever heard the phrase human sticks, and I eventually figured out what it meant based on its descriptions. I would rather die than live like that. I mean, you're not far away from death there. As a Catholic, I'd always been taught to do good deeds so that I could be absolved of my sins and go to heaven. After joining the gang, I'd done many bad things, but I could never be involved in something so evil. No, I couldn't just let Yi suffer like this. Damn it. If only I hadn't brought her here. These people would never willingly let her go now. I had to get her out of here and then try to explain to Mr. Kwan. Hey! Oh. Hey, I just remembered. Mr. Kwan wanted me to tell the girls something. What for? She's on the 4th floor, make it quick. The front desk guy picked up today's Mingpao newspaper and did not look up again. Mingpao is a Chinese language newspaper in Hong Kong, established on May 20th, 1959 by Louis Cha and Shin Pao Sing. The paper covers local issues in Hong Kong as well as in mainland China and international affairs. The paper's supplement, Century, is among the standouts in Hong Kong newspapers and mainly focuses on discussions of the arts, literature, and political columns. The main demographic of its readership are middle-class families, professionals and executives, and is considered a signature newspaper for the educated elites. However, some people also regard it as a trademark for pretentiousness. As I was climbing the stairs, I felt that I'd heard people crying. Were those the girls that were going to be sold? A strange thought suddenly hit me. Could it be possible that Alicia had also been sold here, just like these unfortunate people? The thought had come out of nowhere, but I felt extremely unsettled. Ye had been locked in a room at the end of the 4th floor. The guard had stepped away for a moment. Her entire body had been burning up. I woke her up and helped her into my own clothes, shorts and shoes. I kept reminding her to be careful while we snuck out of the building. Poor girl. With a fever like this, she would probably die on the way to Southeast Asia if I didn't help her. I thought she was ready to go when she turned around and hugged me. Did I forget something? Oh right. I pulled the brimmed hat on my head off and put it on her almost bald head, which had been shaved by Mr. Kwan. It was a real shame that he had done that to her. She looked really pretty with her long hair. Yi tried her best, got herself together and left the room. Well, now was the difficult part. The auction house was quite big. Not only would it take a while to exit the building, even if she got out, the guards could easily catch up to her while she was still nearby. I had to get her more time to escape. I scoured the room. I couldn't find anything I could wear. Nothing but a long wig. I'd never seen a wig before. I found it a little amusing. But there weren't any clothes. I couldn't just be naked, could I? I picked up her dress. The dress ripped in the back. I sat down with my back towards the door. I loosened the hair and let it down. I sat down with nothing but my boxer shorts on. I tried my best to keep calm. There was no other way. The dress ripped apart the moment I tried to put my legs in. Why did I even try it? I knew it wouldn't fit. I should have kept it intact as a memento. What an idiot I was. I heard footsteps getting closer and closer to the door. I swallowed nervously. I saw the guard's shocked expression through the small window on the door. I heard him scream. Then I heard the alarms. Ye had not been able to leave the building yet, and she was soon brought back. I was thrown out onto the street with nothing but my boxer shorts. Damn it. I couldn't just do nothing and let Ye be sent to a living hell. Lord, please guide me. Carlos. Alright, let's start this. Let's just see what this does. The dress was really tight. I looked down at the dress that was wrapped tightly around myself. I could still feel the warmth of Ye's body and smell the faint trace of her scent. I had never worn a girl's clothes except for my sister's. I felt my face starting to blush. I heard footsteps getting closer and closer to the door. I swallowed nervously. Was her hair this long? The alarms went off in the auction house. All of the gates were closed immediately. Okay. Yep. Oh, now he's wearing the dress. Okay. I thought about it for a while and decided it was too embarrassing to change into a dress just for a sketch. I might as well stick with the oversized jacket. I was still feeling a little warm from tennis earlier. Sweat kept dripping down my forehead. I had to wipe it off constantly using napkins. Fortunately, the sun was already setting, otherwise it would have been even warmer. When the class finally ended, I looked at my sketch and sighed. Unsurprisingly, Mr. Wen tore my sketch up once again. I had lost count of how many times he had torn up my drawings. Besides, I was actually pretty bad at this. I did wonder how I looked in his drawing. Before I could ask, he seemed to know what I was going to say and he quickly left with his belongings. Oh well. Okay. Okay, you know what? Sure, let's try this. Don't let the hair down. The dress was really tight. I looked down at the dress that was wrapped tightly around myself. Yep. I heard footsteps getting closer and closer to the door, but then they started moving away. A few minutes later, I saw Ye leaving the building through the window. She walked out of the gate, turned to her right, and slowly walked out of my sight. If she kept walking in that direction for another couple of kilometers, she would be on the turf of the Blood Gang. I finally felt relaxed. May the Lord bless you, Ye. Now that Ye had got away, I didn't need to worry about my own escape. When I was at the orphanage, I had always been the fastest kid. We used to go up on the hill to hunt rabbits. The other kids would take a whole day, but I only needed 3 hours. The Mexican rabbit, Romero lagos diazi, also known as the volcano rabbit, is an endangered species endemic to Mexico. The rabbit is only native to 4 volcanoes just south of Mexico City: Iztaccíhuatl, El Pelado, Popocatépetl, and Tlaloc. They are commonly found at higher altitudes in pine forests, alder forests, and grasslands around 2,900 to 3,600 meters above sea level. It is the world's second smallest rabbit. It is crepuscular and highly active at twilight, dawn, and all times in between. It lives in groups of 2 to 5 rabbits in burrows, and the total population is estimated to be around 1,200. The most famous rabbit in Mexico is the volcano rabbit, but since it is highly endangered, the rabbits that the locals hunt the most are usually the slightly larger Mexican hares. I ran out of the room and sprinted towards the stairway. The guard noticed me, but before he could make a sound, I'd already jumped down an entire flight. I was able to go down to the first floor with just 3 jumps. I ran past the front desk so fast that the newspaper was blown out of the front desk guy's hands. By the time he realized what had just happened and who that had been, I was already long gone from the auction house. Still, what should I tell Mr. Kwan? I wandered around the streets when I finally noticed people kept giving me strange looks. That was when I realized that I was still wearing Ye's dress. Oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing. I lowered my head and walked quickly towards the less crowded part of the street, afraid of being seen. I found myself in a strange alley that I had never been before. At the end of the alley there was a small coffee shop. The sign looked like a maple leaf and it said Maple House on it. I was stunned. I seemed to remember that Alicia had mentioned that place like this in her first few letters. Yes, she used to work here. Since Alicia had never mentioned the address of the coffee shop, I had never been able to find it. Yet here it was, right here. Finally, I was about to find my big sister Alicia. I ran up the stairs of the coffee shop filled with all of the excitement in the world, but someone suddenly grabbed both of my arms from behind. It was a policeman? I thought about it for a while and decided it was too embarrassing to change into a dress just for a sketch, yeah. The golden sunlight from the setting sun shone down upon Mr. Wen and me. It felt warm but not too warm. Mr. Wen's sketch paper rustled lightly in the breeze, as did his hair. He looked so focused that I had found myself staring at him without even realizing it. Mr. Wen looked up. Our eyes met silently. When I finally came to my senses and lowered my head, my heart had skipped a few beats. The bell rang. I reluctantly handed my sketch to him. If you want to tear it up, go ahead. I had lost count of how many times he had torn up my drawings. Besides, I was actually pretty bad at this. Mr. Wen handed me the sketch. It wasn't mine though, it was his. Was that really me? I was speechless and I couldn't find a word in my vocabulary to describe it other than beautiful. I never could have imagined that a person who was always so cold and distant would be able to create something so warm and intimate. Suddenly an idea came to me. I held the sketch up in his face and pointed at a random spot. There is a serious problem here. Mr. Wen looked at the sketch, puzzled. Before he could take a good look, I took the sketch back. I will not tolerate this kind of thing in my class. I imitated his tone, took a few steps back and tore up the sketch and threw the pieces into the trash. What a historical moment. I finally turned the tables on him. I quickly ran out of the classroom. Thinking back on how many of my sketches he had shredded, I felt great about getting back at him. Alright, that's an S rank for both. I feel like this is going back to an eye for an eye. And I feel like tearing up a sketch that someone put effort into it is incredibly rude in the first place. And I don't think that she should have lowered herself down to his level in doing that. But okay, that makes her happy, I guess. I got new post, but what that post is, well, we'll find out in the next episode. Till then, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.